Welcome back to Master Your Money Mindset, brain hacks for ease, abundance, freedom, and flow. And I am super excited to welcome our guest today, Deborah Rozman, who is the CEO and founder of HeartMath. I'm so excited to have Deborah with us because HeartMath, as you're going to hear from her, is a really incredible organization that helps people who are affiliated with it. Anybody who comes in contact with anybody who knows the work of HeartMath has an automatic heart opening. So what we're going to be talking about today is really the science-based inner ease technique that is available to all of us. And that comes through opening our hearts. So I'll tell you a little bit about Deborah first, and then we'll dive into our conversation. Deborah Rozman has a PhD. She's the president and CEO of HeartMath. She's also a behavioral psychologist, an educator, and an author. Deborah gives media interviews and keynote addresses throughout the world on heart rate variability coherence, and she's going to tell us what coherence is. It's a super cool phenomenon where we can all sync up to each other. So you're going to hear more about that. And she's going to talk to us about how heart rate variability coherence training can actually accelerate health, well-being, and goal achievement. She's appeared in many documentaries, many telesummits. She's hosted webinars with Dr. Daniel Amen, author of Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. She also wrote the foreword to HeartMath's brain fitness program. And she's worked with Dr. Bessel van der Kolk on healing trauma with heart rate variability. So super, super exciting, cutting edge mind-body work. Deborah has written a dozen books, co-authored books. She is super prolific. And rather than taking time here, because I want you to get as much information as you can from her personally, we'll post more of that information down below. So welcome, Deborah. So happy that you're here.
Well, thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
So let's dive right in. Tell us, what is heart rate variability coherence training?
Oh, lots of mouthful of words.
It is. What does that really mean? We're talking about how to create more ease, right? How do we do that with our heart
Yes.
rate?
Well, let's look at the physiology, which is where all those words came from. Our heart, with every beat, is putting out over 2.5 watts of power. And every beat of our heart happens at a different heart rate. And our heart rate, as most people know, can speed up or slow down depending upon our activity. And most people don't know that heart rate changes with every single beat. So when you look at your heart rate monitor, it says 60 beats per minute or 70 beats per minute or whatever it says, that's an average. But if you can plot each single beat, and you can see the one beat is at 70 beats, one beat's 60, one beat's 50, one beat's 90, one beat's 40. And then it all averages out to 60, 65, or whatever your heart rate is. There's a lot of information in those beat to beat to beat changes, and that's called heart rate variability. And heart rate variability has become a window into the autonomic nervous system, how our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems are interacting, how they're talking to the brain and body, and therefore it is a window into our health, mental health, emotional health, and physical health. And over the last 20, 30 years, heart rate variability has emerged as the leading biometric that is indicative of how much self-regulation we have, physically, mentally, emotionally, and it's a predictor of all-cause mortality. So that's the physiology introduction of why it's such an important three-word phrase, heart rate variability. And when you look at that pattern over time of the changes in heart rate, what you can see is that when you're frustrated, anxious, angry, scared, depressed, all of the stressful emotions, that pattern of heart rate change is very higgledy-piggledy. It's jiggly, up, down, jerky, and disordered. It's what's called an incoherent waveform, and it pretty much mirrors how we feel and think inside. We can't get it together. We don't have much poise. We are reactive and triggered, and we feel pretty incoherent. And that's what happens. That pattern is signaled from the heart to the brain, and the brain responds with mental fog, a trigger habit like anxiety, fight, flight, freeze, that whole stress response pattern. Now, when we're feeling love, care, genuine compassion, appreciation, kindness, you know what happens to that heart rate variability pattern? It gets really smooth and harmonious, like a flow. And indeed, that smooth sine wave like waveform is a coherent wave. And so it's a coherent pattern. And when the heart is in that coherent waveform, the heart is signaling the brain that pattern. The core cells of the amygdala, the emotional memory center, sync up to it. The thalamus that synchronizes cortical function syncs to it, all the way to the frontal lobes. So when we're feeling love or gratitude or appreciation, we're actually harmonizing and synchronizing our whole heart, brain, body system, and it opens up our higher potentials, our higher intuitive capacities. So we can see a bigger picture. We are more sensitive to what's going on with people around us. So like the mother loving a child, that love attunes the mother to have more sensitivity of the child's needs and to be able to care and appreciate and enjoy the child more. We all have that within ourselves, between us and other people, us and nature, us and life. And so love and the aspects of love, like appreciation, compassion, care, kindness, all of those qualities of the heart create heart rate variability coherence, which creates more mental clarity and coherence.
So
There you go.
you just said a whole bunch of super fascinating things. One of them, which I just want to highlight, is that it is the heart that sends the information out to the brain, not the other way around. And you said that a couple of times, so I just want to make sure that I heard you correctly and that our viewers are hearing that correctly. It's the heart that actually sends the signal to the brain. It's the heart that sends the information to some of those centers in the brain, the amygdala and the thalamus and the frontal lobes, to either relax or be agitated and dysregulated, right? But it starts with the heart's information, not the brain telling the heart, you're in danger, you better speed up, but it starts with the heart, right?
You know, it's really interesting. That is the fundamental surprise that we found in our research, and it's been replicated at hundreds of institutions. That it's actually, there's a two-way communication loop
Mm-hmm.
between the heart and brain. So when your brain or senses perceive a tiger running at you, that's a sensory perception. That's your brain going to signal the heart to speed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it works the other way, and that's the part that allows us to truly transform, is that when we are feeling frustrated or anxious for any reason whatsoever, the heart rhythm pattern, wherever it's initiated from the sensory system, from our memory, from just an energetic that we feel in the ethers, because we can feel it without knowing where it came from.
Yeah.
It's the heart signal back to the brain that
Mm.
tells the brain how to respond. So that isn't really important because 90% of the traffic through the vagal nerve going from the heart to brain, 90% is afferent, which means it's the heart telling the brain what to do.
Mm.
And only 10% is the brain telling the heart.
That is so important because so many people think they need to figure it out. They need to think about it, right? And what you just said actually gets us off the hook because the brain can think and think and think, but 90% of the information isn't coming from the brain. Oh,
Exactly. And where has that gotten us? The brain figuring it out. Look at the
right,
world.
right.
You can't figure it out from the same threshold of mentality or consciousness from which your problems are created. Einstein said that.
Yeah.
You really have to lift your consciousness to a larger level. And when your heart rhythm is coherent and you're feeling love and the positive heart attributes, that's what opens up the ahas, the
Mm.
bigger perception. Figuring alone doesn't work.
I'm wondering, it just occurs to me now that the way that we've evolved to be bipedal and upright puts the brain on top. Like hierarchically, it just puts the brain on top, and the heart is having to work to feed the brain, right? It's having to go against gravity to send blood to the brain. So is that part of why when we lie down, I know physiologically when we lie down, the heart doesn't need to work as hard, but energetically, it puts them on the same level? Because it's very hard for the brain to get
Hmm.
out of the way when the heart's, you know,
That's interesting. I don't know. I've never thought of it that way before.
I never have either
Um,
until just now.
so I think really what's happened is in our society, we've been so trained to live from the neck up that the
Right.
rest of it is just sort of mechanical, a biomechanical mechanism or a chemical mechanism, and that who we are exists up here. And that's not really true. In fact, if you talk to children of every culture and you ask them, where are you? Who are you? Where are you located? Most point to the center of the chest, their center of being, their center of
Mhm.
who they feel they are, because our feeling essence is really more connected with who we really are or want to become. The
Mhm.
brain is an incredible computer, like a pattern matching instrument. I mean, we hardly know what the brain does, but we hardly know what the heart does besides being a blood pump.
Mm.
And it's actually energetically, the energetic heart or the spiritual heart that's coupled with the physical heart is actually like a radio receiver and antenna, picking up energies from our environment, internal, external, people around us, radio waves of TV and news stress coming across the ethers or uplifting vibrations. It's tuned to a whole different set of frequencies, just like our eyes are tuned to the visual spectrum, our ear to the sound spectrum. Think of your heart as a whole other sensory organ. And
Mm.
in fact, inside the heart, there are neurons, like in the brain, they're called sensory neurons that can
Mhm.
sense, learn, feel, and remember. And they are modulating and receiving information, frequencies about how the body feels and sending that to the brain. So the heart is a whole newly rediscovered intelligence system. And
Wow.
yet, isn't it neat that the ancients always referred from whether it was Egypt or China or India, the heart is a source of wisdom.
Mhm.
The heart is a source of intelligence. Every culture has listen to your heart. Follow your heart. Go deep into your heart for an answer. Those aren't just metaphors, they mean something. That center of being is some place we reference as this larger, bigger, uh, more connected part of ourselves. But connected to what? Connected to source,
Mhm.
connected to life, to nature. Just that exploration from a scientific point of view, not religious, is really fascinating. That's what Heart Math set out to do when we first started our research center. And what we've discovered has been nothing but surprising to a lot of people, but confirming to a lot as well, confirming what we really already knew and felt about the heart.
Yeah, I know that you do really incredible research, including how we sync up with trees and how we sync up with nature,
Yes.
right? So, what is ease? What is the state of ease? We're all wanting more of that, and the heart is the one that will send the signal to the brain saying it's okay, we can chill out. But what is that that we're all seeking
You
that we call
know,
ease?
yeah, let me approach it this way. When children are upset, what's the first thing we naturally do? We try to say, calm down, take it easy, ease up, relax, just chill out, because we know that we can't really have an interaction, an intelligent conversation, or really help until the child is in a state of ease. At ease is a term in the military. Relax,
Mm-hmm.
be yourself, tell me what's going on. So ease is this term that a lot of people go, well, what does it mean? If in your head you can't quite feel it, but as the word ease, take it easy or ease up,
Mm-hmm.
we all know what that feels like, and we all want more of it, like you said. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, the word ease is kind of like an onomatopoeia, meaning it feels like it sounds, just ease.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what it is a way for us to let go of some of the incoherence that could be stored in our cells, in our body, in our minds, and come into more of a softer state of the heart and an easeful state. That's what we call it moving at the state of ease. Because in today's energies, of what's happening in the world right now, so much uncertainty, so much stress, there's a planetary shift going on. So energies are speeding up. Magnetic field of the earth is changing. And we see people in a lot of chaos and uncertainty, partly because old programs are coming to the surface. It's a huge shift of consciousness, and you see polarization. You see just a lot of crazy stuff, so to speak. And so, for us to move through this shift with more poise and grace, we need to be able to find the frequency. Remember, I said everything is frequency or vibration. The frequency of ease. We need to be able to shift into that state of ease and move in that state more. And it's not a sleepy time state. In the research, we found ease is a very present state. It's a state that allows you to be relaxed but present, kind of like coherence, only it's a softer word than coherence. When you're really in ease, it's that calm, clear, present state, and it will create that heart rhythm coherence in your heart rate variability pattern. I don't feel that ease is even optional these days for moving effectively through life. It is essential. So what we try to do is help people shift quickly from a state of tension or incoherence to a state of ease.
So let's talk about how do we actually do that? Because a lot of the people watching are coming to this because the title of this interview series is Master Your Money Mindset. And money is something that creates the opposite of ease for a lot of people. We think we have to chase it, we have to work really hard, we're not allowed to take a day off, or we're not allowed to sleep in, right? It's just the antithesis of what we're talking about. And we really work ourselves up into a lather, which just exacerbates the problem. So, how do we shift from tension to ease? Number
It's a
one,
really, I want to first address what you mentioned about money, since that is a lot of people watching this program have an issue or I want to learn more about the money mindset. So there's an entrainment going on. Remember, we're all connected energetically. And there's an expectation, ambition, and entrainment going on, and especially in Western society, that money and having more money confirms your value, your sense of self-worth. And yet you see in many, many societies where people are poor, as long as they have the basics, meaning they have food, they have clothing, they have shelter, they have water, you find that money mindset isn't quite the same at all. Yes, most people would like to have more money to buy more stuff, but the attachment to money isn't there because they don't have any. And so their reference to self-worth and happiness is not based on money. Whereas in Western society, it has become so entrenched and entrained, and you look at politics and you look at what's going on and how the rich are getting richer and the world is in a stranglehold of government and business and money stranglehold. And how do you get out of it? Well, it's up to each of us individually to find balance. There's nothing wrong with money, but if we're attached to it just like anything else, then it owns us and drains our energy.
right?
So if there's anything that threatens our security, our financial security, we're certainly in a state of incoherence, not in a state of ease. We're in a state of dis-ease.
Yes.
And so much dis-ease, disease, is related to the areas where we have not been able to let go of attachment to external dependencies. So our security is built on another person,
Right.
our job definition, money, these externals. So practicing the inner ease technique that I'm going to share is very powerful for not only being able to shift out of that tension and stress and the identity with external securities, but enabling us to build our own sense of self-security and inner security. So gradually we can let those codependencies go and become more empowered. When we move in a state of ease, we find flow. Ease creates flow. And most of us are most happy and fulfilled when we are doing something we love, whether it's gardening or a creative project or running, or it doesn't matter what, but we feel ease and we feel flow, and there's kind of an intuitive sense. We feel connected to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And those don't have to just be those rare peak experiences. This inner ease technique that gets the heart, brain, and nervous system in heart coherence and aligned really helps activate that heart intelligence flow, which is what we all find fulfilling universally. It creates that hormonal texture of fulfillment, and that becomes more important than other identities or dependencies because it's coming from you and your real self.
Yeah, and that actually creates more prosperity because if you're in a state of flow, you're more creative. And if you're more creative, you're putting more whatever content or presentations or widgets or team building ideas forth from that creative place in you, which eventually benefits everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you want to show us what that inner ease technique is?
Sure. Well, I'm going to show you just a first. I'm going to walk you through it. Nothing to show.
Okay.
But it builds on other coherence techniques that we have researched. So if you focus your attention right now, not on your head or your gut, but here in the center of your chest and the area around the heart.
Can I close my eyes?
You close your eyes. That helps often. So focus inside so you're not distracted. You can put your hand on your heart if that helps keep your focus there. But the key is to have your focus of attention there in the heart area. And then pretend like your breath is flowing in through the area of the heart and out through the area of the heart. And just let it flow in through the area of the heart and out through the area of the heart. Breathing just a little more slowly, a little more deeply than usual, but finding a nice, easy rhythm as you keep that heart focus going. And as you do this, you might actually feel like the breath is breathing you. There's a flow in through the heart, out through the heart. This is called heart focused breathing. Now, as you continue this heart focused breathing, pretend like you're drawing in a feeling of inner ease. As you breathe in, imagine, pretend like you're drawing in a feeling of inner ease into your heart. And as you breathe out, imagine that feeling of ease is softly radiating out from your heart to every cell of your body. Just creating more ease throughout your cellular system and more poise and ease through your emotional system, more balance. And now as you continue that, just feel yourself anchoring that state of ease, that sense of ease, into your cells, grounding it so that you can hold it, maintain it. And that'll help you train your nervous system into the state of ease more so that you can move through challenges and fast-paced change with more ease. simple technique, but ease is a frequency. It's an energy, a particular energy that we could all use more of. And you
What
can
is
learn to just tell yourself to breathe ease as you move through the day.
what is the frequency of ease? You said that the heart was 2.5 watts. Do we know what the frequency of ease is?
No, I don't know the frequency measurement of love or appreciation or gratitude or care or compassion or kindness or ease. But what we do know is that all of those heart attributes are within a bandwidth. And that bandwidth, all of those feelings, when we genuinely feel them or adopt the attitude, if you can't feel the feeling of it, the attitude of gratitude, the
Hmm.
attitude of ease, the attitude of kindness, when you put your heart into that, no pun intended, then you actually are moving into that heart rhythm coherence, which is what synchronizes the brain and body and nervous system and creates flow.
Mm. And are you and I now synchronized, and all the people who are watching synchronized, because we're all achieving this state of coherence individually and collectively? Does it work
Well,
like
that's an
that?
interesting question. To answer that question, we are actually doing research on group coherence or social coherence.
Hmm.
And we know that if we had you hooked up to our M wave or inner balance heart rate variability coherence technology, it's a monitor that you can get. It's an app in the Android, Google Play Store, or iOS store, but you'll need one of our sensors,
Hmm.
M wave or inner balance sensor, to see what's happening. You will see whether you are incoherent. You'll see your heart rate variability, your HRV waveform, and you'll get feedback and be able to fine tune it and it guide you. It's a trainer to how to make sure you're going deep enough in the heart and breathing at the right rhythm. And when you've activated that regenerative, renewing heart attribute, then you can forget about your breath. It's a dance. It teaches you the dance steps and shows
Hmm.
you. So that is when you're in sync. But we're also developing an app now that you'll be able to use with the same sensor that shows when you or another person or a team or a work group are in sync.
Hmm.
Just like your question, were we all in sync? We may
Hmm.
well have been with each other.
Hmm. Well, you know how you can walk into a room and you can feel if somebody is super agitated or super tense or super angry. We might not even know them, but we can walk into a room and we feel like certain individuals just make us feel calm, right? We all know people around whom we feel relaxed, and there are other people around whom we feel like we're on edge. Is that because we're picking up the magnetic field of their heart? And if they're coherent, we want to sync to that? What's going
Yeah,
on when that happens?
that's exactly what happens. In fact, research at HeartMath Institute has shown that my heart rhythm pattern, or anyone's, can show up in the brain waves of someone standing 3 feet away
Wow.
and not touching.
Wow.
So we are affecting each other. Just like if someone's agitated, you can pick that up, but even unconsciously, if you're not aware of it, it's affecting your brain waves. Just like a parent and child, a stressed out parent is going to facilitate a stressed out child,
Right.
just energetically. That's why it's so important for us to understand what's going on and know how to take charge to come back to ease and poise, because we're affecting each other and we are affected by each other. So when we get into heart rhythm coherence, it's like a protection. While we can sense somebody is upset or stressed, we don't pick up their vibes as much. We can stay poised through it. That's the
Hmm.
power of inner ease, that little technique.
Hmm.
You can move through the challenges of work or home without getting as affected or hooked into them or triggered by them, because you're in a higher vibration where everything's in sync inside you. And that gives you more intuitive clarity on how to help, how to be of service.
Hmm.
Instead of getting upset at your child who's cranky, you're more at ease and at poise because you're not affected by the energy as much to be able to discern, what does my child need? He's really tired. It's time for a nap or whatever. And that gives us so much more power to live life like we want it. It's empowerment. But self-regulation is so key, regulating our autonomic nervous system.
Yeah.
And that's what all of HeartMath techniques, tools, technology are designed to help people do.
Well, it's such needed technology, especially because when we're talking about a money mindset, we're talking about empowerment. And if we're not willing to self-regulate, that's the probably the most important personal responsibility that we can take for ourselves is to self-regulate. And it's so easy for us to blame other people for our emotional state, for why we didn't exercise that day, whatever it is. And it's such a powerful tool that you're giving us that we can
Absolutely.
train the
It's
heart
not
muscle.
only it not only helps us release the hold of stress or negatives, if you want to call it, projections, fear, judgment, blame, but it nurtures us with uplifting vibrations
Hmm.
of connection, of joy, of love, of gratitude. But we do have to do a little something. We have to initiate it. We have to step into it. We have to listen to our heart and put our heart into it. And then things start flowing in a whole nother realm. And that's the shift. To me, that is the dimensional shift that's happening on the planet right now. People have a choice to love or fear or not. And it creates a whole different reality set, personally and collectively, a whole different relationship to money or relationships with other people, spouses, friends, children, lovers. We become more of who we really are. And then all of those are add ons, but not depend ons. And they take on a whole different relationship to us and to life. And that really is the dimensional shift, but it's all about loving yourself, loving love first, and other
Mm.
things line up.
Yeah, I love that. What great homework. It's all about loving love. What's
Yeah.
the science piece of this? Because you can feel, I can certainly feel when I did that inner ease technique that relaxation took over. I felt myself breathing deeper. I felt my diaphragm relax. I just felt like, oh, I can drop it.
Hmm.
What's the science that's backing up this work?
Well, I've already mentioned it basically. It's the research into how the heart and the brain and the body communicate. The autonomic nervous system controls 90% of the body's involuntary functions: immune response, hormonal response, digestion, ability to sleep, your metabolic rhythms. I mean, so much. And when your autonomic nervous system's out of balance because you've had a stress reaction that you didn't bring back to balance, you've just let it run and run and run,
Hmm.
and you've gone about your day, but you're still angry or frustrated or depressed or stressed, that whacks out the autonomic nervous system. It's like
Hmm.
driving a car with one foot on the brake and one foot on the
Right,
accelerator. You
right.
burn a lot of fuel and eventually wear it out. So the science is we need to learn to reboot. We reboot our computers, we
Yeah.
reset our watches. This is the science heart math of how to reboot and reset your internal operating system, refresh it.
Hmm.
And we need to do that as we go. Inner ease is one of a whole set of heart math techniques and skill set that gets us into this in sync, coherent state that enhances all our body, brain, mind, emotional functions, changes
So,
the hormonal chemistry, everything. It's not a magic pill. It's you managing your own internal pharmacy by
mm,
your attitudes, emotions. Love heals, and it's an
yeah,
aspect of loving.
I love that. Manage your own internal pharmacy. One of the things that occurs to me is, each one of us walks around as an individual, but you talked about how heart rate variability is something that we're seeing collectively in our culture. And I just have this wish that everybody could have access and begin to use the work that you're teaching, because we're seeing all of this incoherence all around us. And if everybody were to practice this, there would be coherence on a planetary level,
It
right? I
will
mean, the
happen,
global heart would calm
right?
down.
It's inevitable. It will happen because that's the evolutionary thrust. Understanding how, nobody came here with an instruction manual of how it's been set up that we all have to discover it together, uncover it, research it, discover it together. And that's been since forever. We went through phases of superstition as humanity unfolded, trying to understand and make sense of the moon and the sun cycles. Now we understand them more scientifically. Same thing with the human psyche and mind. There's a lot of superstition, and because nobody understood, and now we're peering into it with our research instruments, we're understanding more. The great philosophers and great teachers had an intuitive access to all that. So they said in every single religion and philosophy, love, forgive, be kind, we're all connected. And now science is beginning to validate that. But there's a whole wave with the internet and how connected we are now in communication systems. Yes, we affect each other with fake news and mindsets and limited beliefs, but we also are affecting each other because there's a huge awakening going on to the heart. You can see it everywhere. More people talking about heart, more inspiring stories about heart on the evening news,
Mm-hmm.
as well as all the negative stuff. And so this is the evolutionary thrust, and more it's going to be revealed how connected we are, how energetically we affect each other. And as soon as that is really recognized, and you're going to be seeing children being taught heart math and other skills from a very young age for self-management, self-regulation. And the younger generation, the millennials, they're not going to stand for what we see going on in the world right now. They are too aware. So there's an evolutionary shift happening, and it really is a shift to heart intelligence, which is what we want to give everybody who's viewing this today as a free chapter, free gift of our book, Heart Intelligence, Connecting with the Intuitive Guidance of the Heart. And in the book, there's a whole chapter on moving in the state of ease as well. So people, we can give out the URL to that, but people can really begin to understand the profound research, ours and others, that is showing that the heart is an intelligent system just waiting to be activated by our choice to shift to the heart.
Well, thank you so much for making that available. It's down below. You can see the link and you can just click on it. You can go download a chapter of the book. And I just want to thank you so much for this wisdom and for the ease that you've brought into my day and the day of everyone watching. It's really such a secret power tool that we all have because it's right here. You don't have to pay anything. All you need to do is go within, and ease, your inner ease is a prosperity tool that is just waiting to receive more of you. So thank you for guiding us through that exercise and for helping illuminate how to run our businesses more from the heart.
You're very welcome, and thank you so much. It's like HeartMath founder Doc Childrey says, and he says it in the book too, it's a secret hidden in the open.
Yeah, love it.